Yay. Okay. That's
Thank you,
That was
Kathy.
quick.
that's our signal to get started. And if a few others are joining us a little later, that's fine too. Welcome, everyone, from chilly Manitoba, but I'm thrilled to see so many people that have joined us. A very happy New Year yet, because this, I guess, is the first time we have seen each other, I believe, in the new year. So we have a busy schedule ahead of us, so I would like to get started. First, we will have a special presentation by Judy Martin, and Judy Martin will be introduced by Theresa, our education coordinator. After the presentation, there will be, hopefully, if Judy is okay with that, a little bit of time for questions and answers or comments. After that, we have some housekeeping messages by, I believe, Yvonne Carlson in regard to the postcards challenge. And Kathy would like to talk to us a little bit about Quilt Canada and our new exhibit, Reclaiming Nature. And after that is all said and done, we have, by the looks of it, a very interesting show and share, where we have sent in or present pictures of stuff that we are working on. And Judy, if you feel like you would like to take part in that or not take part, just see what we are doing, then you're more than welcome. But if you have a busy schedule, then feel free to leave the meeting when you see fit. Okay, any questions? If not, then I would like to ask Theresa to introduce our presenter.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So I'm going to read Judy's introduction, but before I do that, I just want to make a comment in that I, several years ago, had the great good fortune to just happen upon Judy's exhibit at the Muse and with Peggy Behrens.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it was one of the most amazing fiber exhibits or exhibits generally that I have ever seen in my life. I was not aware of your work before, and I was just blown away by the thoughtfulness, the scope of the exhibit, just the entirety of your practice. And so I am so happy that you are here with us today to share your story. That being said, Judy Martin is a Canadian artist who combines traditional hand stitch, local natural dyes, and used domestic textiles to connect us poetically with our own interior worlds. Her large hand-stitched quilts have generated many awards, notably several from Quilt National, the most prestigious in her field. A longtime member of Craft Ontario, Judy received the award for Mid-Career Achievement in 2018. And for over 40 years, Judy has exhibited her work in Canada and internationally, and is represented in many private and public collections, including the International Quilt Museum and the Canada Council Art Bank. Judy holds 2 fine art degrees with a specialization in textiles. In 1993, she graduated from Lakehead University with an honors bachelor of fine art. And in 2012, she received a second BA in embroidered textiles from London's Middlesex University. And I'm always so impressed by people who graduated from a British university in textiles. Judy's a lifelong resident of Northern Ontario. She lives with the ever-changing view of sky and water on Manitoulin Island in Great Lake Huron, Ontario. So please welcome Judy.
Yay.
I'm clapping, yay.
Thank you, Teresa. That was beautiful. Um, should I share my screen right away or just talk like this
Oh,
for a while?
sure, you can start
All right.
however you like.
All right. Well, I'll just talk to everybody about thanking you all for inviting me to speak, and thanks to Teresa for reaching out. And I am really pleased to be here. I actually, I don't know what it's like for you, but I don't really get to talk about my work very much with my people I go for coffee with. It just doesn't seem possible to talk about it in a meaningful way. So I appreciate an invitation to speak about it in a more formal way, I guess, because it gives me a chance to reflect and revision what I'm doing in my own work. I gathered images together tonight to share with you, and I'm not sure that I can really tell you what every single one of them means, if they mean anything. And I used to know what my work meant. I really used to think about the code of the quilt. I'm a quilt maker. And when I was finding my voice and learning so much about the language. But what they mean for me these days is just a solace for me. It's just a way for me to work with my needle and my thread and to meditate and contemplate and dream and remember and just heal myself because this is quite a scary world right now, and I am finding a lot of comfort in working with my needle and thread. The work I produce might not communicate to others this depth of emotion, but it might. It's mysterious the way art works. So as we go through the images, please make note of any questions that you might have and ask me those at the end of the night. There will be some time. I hope to be able to flip back in my screen share and find the image if you have a specific question, and together we can talk about it. This is my fourth attempt tonight at organizing what I'm going to talk about. I didn't think it would be so hard, but I've limited the slides to under 80, which sounds like a lot, but it's hardly any when you think I've been doing this for 50 years. I've got a lot to say, and I had to leave out a lot. But I'm on the web, I'm on social media. You can find this stuff if you're interested. What I'm talking about now is more like what probably probably what anybody would do if they're a grandmother like I am. And mending and making baby quilts, things like that are going to come up tonight. So, but I know that what I'm doing is art. I know it. So, so I'm going to share my screen now. Uh, Here we go. All right. Content only share. Not coming up. Okay. You were screen sharing, but that's not what I want to share. Sorry.
We see all the images.
I know you do.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Stop this one. I'll try again. Sorry about that. All right. I'm going to try again. Content only for this one. Yeah, go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Now we see that one.
Yeah.
The images that I'm showing you here are the show that I did have this summer in Sudbury. That's the closest city that I have. It's 2 hours away on Highway 17, which is the Trans-Canada. The title of this exhibition was The Sky. And the gallery space was the Art Gallery of Sudbury. It's a temporary downtown white cube of a space because they're going to have a new gallery. The pieces collected together in the exhibition are about the sky and about the stars in the sky and about the moon and the suns and all the vastness of the sky and about the reassurance that you get when the sun rises every day. I want to communicate about how looking at the sky makes me feel more than what it looks like, actually. And but installed together, the pieces give the viewer large pieces. This is a almost 100 inches square. They give the viewer a large swath of sensuous hand-stitched surface. And being next to them and being able to walk around them, because they were hung from the ceiling, they're hung away from the wall, so you can see both sides.
Cool.
And you just feel very loved and cared for in this exhibition. You feel kind of there's an emptiness to my work. If you see this piece, it's very simple. It's more about texture than it is about representation of anything. It gives you a space where you can enter your own interior space. I like the idea of quilts as being dream enhancers and protection covers. So I make all my pieces by hand. I hand stitch them. And I was thinking of calling this talk Heart Work because I think it takes a courage to be so tender as we are who work with cloth. And cloth and working with cloth is an antidote to helplessness. The best remedy for helplessness is to help. And the pieces that we create are little acts of mercy for the world. I create large, poetic, hand-stitched quilts that combine circular drawings, and I rely on the tradition of North American bed quilts. So this piece is called Tomorrow is Another Day. My husband and I, this is what we say to each other every night. Well, tomorrow's another day, because we don't usually get everything done, you know? And the other side of it, because my work is mostly two-sided, is called mercy.
Mm.
So as I said, the best remedy for helplessness is helping, and the pieces we create are little acts of mercy. So there I am, stitching it. Stitch it in my lap on the deck. This one is called Trembling Heart. You can see I use a lot of stitching, a lot of texture in the work. I live and work on an island in Canada, and I use a hoop when I stitch. Whoops, sorry. I like to look at the sky and the water. In the summer, I sit on the deck and watch it, and in the winter, I sit in my living room window and look at the view. And very important to my practice are my journals. These are just, I don't know, how many are there? 25 there? 20? I have kept journals since since after my birth of my third child, when I was in my 30s. So I have a lot of journals and I reread them. And they're very important for me. And for this talk, I am going to use my current journal as a guide to what to say. Phooey. This is January 7th. This journal started in January. I fill about one journal a month. So started this one in January 7th. And I wrote about how I felt when I was stitching on the first page. So I'm going to read that to you. Read what that writing is here. I'm going to, during the talk, do January 7th, January 8th, and January 9th, just as starting points to give me a topic. Because I keep these journals and they keep me on track with my work. I have this career and I have this work I love, and I just need to keep a book about it all the time. So I do. So here's what I wrote in January 7th. When I stitch a large or small piece in my lap, I am continually touching the cloth, pushing or pulling the needle. Both hands are involved, but also my legs and my arms and my shoulders, even my feet. It's a physical thing to stitch a quilt. It's a repeated action. It involves my body. And it feels good, like a hug. It's as if someone was rubbing my back. It's an act of self-care. We are living in a time of uncertainty, and sometimes I wonder how I can continue to do this soft thing. But there's no other way. I need to make these quilts. I want to talk about Agnes Martin. This is one of her paintings. Agnes Martin has been super important to my career and to many, many artists in the 20th and 21st century. She's famous as a painter and as a mystic, and you can see her work is super, very, very simple. She offered her work up as a kind of therapy for the onlooker. Our personal thoughts and emotions rise up when we look at her work. Our own ones, not hers. We're not trying to worry about what she's saying. We look at that and we just start thinking about our own thoughts. It's like looking over a view of the water or like looking over a field of grass. You go into yourself, and that's what she wanted to do with her work. And that's why her work is so important. And this is a picture of her. Agnes Martin was born in Canada, in Saskatchewan, in 1912, and she died in New Mexico in 2004. Her writing and her artwork have been important to a lot of artists and very important to me. So I wanted to tell you about her. So next in my January 7th journal is the contract that I was working with this gallery in Toronto called 100% Silk. It's a gallery that approached me in the fall and asked me if I would have a show in their little gallery, which is also a dress shop and a shoe shop, and it has designer clothing from around the world and also African textiles. And I have been in it because my daughter shops in it, and but I had not met the people before. They just reached out because of my Instagram feed. This is my Instagram feed. They saw me on Instagram and they asked me from my Instagram feed if I would show in their work. So I said, well, all right, okay. So we made a deal that I would do it for the month of February, which is coming up very quickly. And the opening is February 7th. So I'm delivering the work there this coming Saturday. We're leaving for Toronto on Thursday. And this is the invitation for it. Um, so in the journal, I talk about, I was telling you about my journal. In my journal, I'm working on the contract that they're making with me about whether to come. I said, do I have to come to the opening? Can I get out of that? And they said, no, they would really prefer it if I showed up. And I think, they're doing their best. They're a young, I guess, I don't know if they're 40. They're probably in their 30s. And they just really like the fact that I make these quilts and I work with cloth, and they think of me as a self-taught quilter, which I do claim to be, because nobody really teaches you how to make a quilt in a university situation. You have to you can take workshops, but I have hardly taken any. I mostly learn by books and just trial and error and looking at stuff. So I'm getting off track here, but there's the invitation. And I wanted also to just give you a little background. This is my mom, painting of my mom that I did. I used to paint all the time, and she made me smocked dresses when I was a little girl. And she also supplied me with all kinds of art supplies and fabric. And I learned how to embroider from her, but I taught myself how to knit and how to crochet and everything. Batik. She said, oh, you want a batik? Here, have some wax. And she supplied me with a lot of art supplies. So I do credit her for my being an artist now. And I also wanted to tell you that I grew up very, very isolated in a farm outside of Fort Frances, which is 6 or 7 hours away from Thunder Bay, which is Thunder Bay, you know where that is. It's pretty far away too. So, and then we lived in Kenora for a while with my husband. So, anyway, this is my very, very, very first quilt. And I don't know if you can see it, 1972. I can't see that on my screen, but That's when I made my first quilt. I was teaching school in Rainy River, and I learned to make it from a family circle magazine from the images because in the 70s, quilting was just coming into decoration and it was kind of a revival. And I was 20 when I made this one. And then Ned and I, who I met in Lakehead University when I went to 1 year teachers college there, we got married in 73 and had these babies in 1985. This quilt is between 1972 and 85. I changed so much that I made this one. And I also changed by having 3 babies by now. And I was going to go on and have a 4th child. This is called Self-Portrait, and it's been published a lot in many books. And I was a mom. I was nursing my 3rd baby. And I also knew I was an artist. And I also knew by then that quilting was my medium. And so I don't know, it's sort of, she's drawing herself and she's also nursing the baby at the same time. And that she is an artist mother and I was an artist mother. I am an artist mother still. So they wanted this one. This is one of the ones that 100% Silk said, okay, we're going to curate this for you. And they phoned me up and they chose some pieces. So I'm going to share with you. You're getting a view of this show before I take it to Toronto. This is the first one they chose, and this is the second one, because one of these young women is a mother. She has 2 little kids, and the idea that a mother can make quilts and be an artist is very inspiring for young women these days. Any day it is. So this is my 8-year-old daughter skipping and being reflected in a puddle, and the repetition of the motif. And the way that you can arrange color with triangles, it really excited me. I just loved making quilts. And this one was machine pieced, 100% cotton fabrics, but with fabric paint. And then they also wanted this one. This one is a 2-sided piece. I started making 2-sided quilts with not just this one. There was another one I did first. But I wanted to show you this one. They wanted to. This is the 100% show, right? So that's why we're doing it. This one is called The Rescuer, and it's one of my velvet journals, which are English paper pieced, and so it's made from silk-like fabrics, like the fabric that you would wear if you went to a party, like a shiny, silky fabric, and the hearts are made from velvet. And so English paper piecing is when you wrap your fabric around a piece of paper and then whip stitch the edges. So you don't actually make seams, you whip stitch them shut over this piece of paper, which keeps an accurate square for you, or an accurate hexagon, or an accurate heart. And so most people then remove the paper, but I didn't remove the paper. So the other side is much more interesting in a way because it has the paper in it still. It has the velvet on, this is a border that I folded over, but here inside those white places is my journal paper. There's writing on those white hearts. And the the image around that is magazine paper that is from women's magazines, what kind of makeup to wear and whether you should use this kind of these kind of words when you raise your children and all these kinds of things that they give you advice on in women's magazines. And these are the illustrations of the women's magazines. So it's called The Rescuer. Did I tell you that already? It's called The Rescuer because I I studied art history a lot, and I one of my favorite art critics is named Lucy Lepard, and she wrote a lot of art criticism in the 70s when feminism was just coming forward. And one of her essays talked about how quilts, I'll read it. I'll read it so I don't make a mistake. Where is it? Here it is. Women make quilts to rescue the mundane, to rescue the beautiful, and also the emotional moments from their lives. So this is called the rescuer. And all my quilts, basically, I guess, are rescuers. All our quilts are rescuers. Okay. So now, so that those are all old ones. This one was made in 1999 or 2001, like a while back. Uh, this one was made in 1988. This one was made in 1985. So now they skipped ahead, these curators, in 100%, and they chose this one from last year, well, from 2024. This one is called Prayer Cloth Hope. And now, after when I made this one, it's so much simpler than those other ones. And I've been making quilts for so long, you think they would get more complicated. Um, but I continue to be rescued by these quilts. I was working on it while watching the American election in 2024 when Trump got in for that second term. And I remember, and that's sort of why I called it Prayer Cloth Hope, because I make my quilts for the world. I don't just make them for me, I make them to exhibit, I make them to share. And yes, they help me a lot to make them, but I'm also wanting to show a kind of a positive idea about the future. I wouldn't make them, would I, if I didn't believe that there would be a future for these heirlooms that I'm making, for the young people to want to see them, for that these young women in 100% silk want to see my work. This is very positive. This is a good reason for me to keep making my prayer cloths. This one's a bit sadder. It's called Cape of Rain. Um, there's an idea that you put a cape over you to protect you from the elements, but this one's full of holes. And so it's really not going to be a very good protection. In fact, you're made more vulnerable when you wear it because I have the idea that it is full of rain. It's sort of about the climate crisis. It's about um, sadness, I think. It's also very, very female. The title comes from a line Margaret Atwood wrote. I pulled around me running a cape of rain. So they want that one in the show too. And so these are two that they want to have in the show. I've been working very hard on all the things that artists do, and I have so many ideas. So now at the end of February 7th in my journal, I wrote another entry at midnight. I'm going to read it to you. Midnight 30, fresh cup of tea. The dishwasher starts up. The tree lights are glowing. Ned, that's my husband, has gone back to bed with his peanut butter sandwich. I stood in the kitchen and told him, Ned, I can't do all these things because I do a lot of things. I can't do them anymore. And he said, good. Now you can sleep in and relax. And I don't want to do that either. So I made the list on midnight on January 7th in this journal to help me figure out what I can pare away from what feels like too busy of a life, really, for a woman my age. I'm in my 70s, yet still feel as if I'm doing something good for the world and what I want to do and what I need to do. I was afraid to write down all the things because I've never really told anybody all the things that are in my mind. There's so many, you know. I'm sure you're the same. And because I know that they would say, my daughters and my husband and my friends would say, well, why? Why are you doing those? You could sleep in. So here's Agnes again. This is another one of her pieces. This is called Summer. So I said to myself, what would Agnes do if she had so many things? And Agnes Martin said, in order to do what you really want to do in life, you must stop doing the things you do not like to do. Now, it's really simple. So I said, okay, Agnes, I will do that. So I made a list of all the things I have on my plate. It was an entire page. And then I chose from that list. I tried to choose only one or two, but I ended up with nine on my list. So I'll show you what the ninth one was. I won't show you what the first one was. The ninth one was to get those baby twin quilts made. I have these little twins and they turn 3 in December 28th, and I have not made them their baby quilts yet. So I really want to do that. So that's on my list. So let me show you now the baby quilts I've made for all my grandchildren. I have other grandchildren. This one I made in 2006. So that character, that baby is now 20. He's going to turn 20 in August. And this baby, or this one, is going to turn 17 in October. He's 16 right now. This one is called Lucky Protection. And on the back of it, I'm not going to show you the back, but it has got a sashiko Japanese design that is a lotus pattern that is a protection symbol. So, and also a lucky symbol. So I called the quilt Lucky Protection. So that's those two. Those are two boys that live in Alaska. And then this one is for my oldest granddaughter. She's my son's child, and she's turning 12 in March now. But she was a baby, and I got her this quilt made out of log cabin. And my little 9-year-old, she just turned 9 yesterday, Maya. This quilt is called Feel Invincible Sweetheart because it's velvet. This is velvet applique. It's really a lovely quilt. And she used it on her bed. You can see the blood stain right there where she had a scraped knee. And this one is from my 5-year-old. I gave it to her when she was 4, and she opened up the package because we mailed it to her. And she was 4 in 24. She's, Grandma finished the quilt. So I don't know. It's really important to me that I give these little heirlooms to my grandchildren, that they have them, that they can carry forward on them. Anyway, thanks for indulging me on that. The next section, I'm going to show you about a dozen large pieces that I've made in the last few years. These are all very, very big, and they've all been shown, not all of them, some of them are brand new and some of them have been shown. This one showed in Quilt National, for example, and this is the one that belongs to the National Quilt Museum in Nebraska. But I'm just going to go through them. I'm going to tell you the titles and maybe a little bit about each one. And then I'm going to go back and go through them again and read the poem that I copied into my January 8th journal page. But it's just a way for you to have an idea of my work. And I just need to have a little sip. Just a minute here. Okay. So this one's called Soft Summer Gone. It's a silk quilt, and you can see how those lines are embroidery quilting. It's wool yarn, fine wool yarn that's been coached down with silk floss to make those linear patterns that actually quilt this. It's silk inside, silk on the back, and it's silk batting, so it's really, really light. And 104 inches big, square, huge. This one is called Red Thread Hearts. It's just one layer of cloth. It's several pieces of linen that have been seamed together. It's a two-sided piece. This is actually the second side. This one's called Island Heart. That yellow color is rusty color. All those fabrics have been dyed with rust, except a few of them. This one is called Stardust. Women give me a lot of repurposed, well, not repurposed, for them. They've had and saved and saved and saved linen tablecloths, doilies, whatever they've had inherited. And they give them to me because maybe I'll do something with them. So all of these doilies, I didn't make a single one, but they are a gathering. of women from, I guess, 100 years, because some of them are mothers made them or grandmothers made them, or, they're old. But I put them together into this stardust quilt on pink linen. This one's called Lamentation. This one is called Faraway Stars. And you can see in the center, there's kind of a darker line. That's the horizon line. A lot of my work uses a horizontal line because of where I live. I live on the lake, so I look over the lake. Faraway Stars. It's all silk and cotton. This is from experiments when I was just teaching myself about natural dyes. I didn't know a thing about them, and so I was learning, and you can see most of them are pretty pale and pretty beige because I didn't really know what I was doing, but they turned out okay. I don't know. This one is called, it's hand-pieced cotton, inch size squares. It's all squares. It's a big 9 patch. And I hand-pieced it over a period of about 9 years. I took it with me wherever we went. It was a travel quilt. I could pack it up into my purse and sew it together with my needle and thread. And I call it Love the Soul Inside of Me, because I finished it around Valentine's Day, and my husband gave me a Valentine with those words in it. And I just loved those words. So I thought I'm going to save those words by calling the quilt those words. This one is called Sky with Many Moons. And this is called Your Fragile Life. It's made, the central part, it goes round and round and round and round and round. I just cut a bunch of squares of all the leftover pieces of damask. I make a lot of quilts with linen damask that I've dyed. And some of them are worn out, and some of them are shiny. And I didn't have very much, so I just went around until I ran out. And then the borders, again, a gift from an artist who was cleaning out her studio. The borders are silk, and it came from Italy in the mail. This box of silk fabrics. So I put it as a border for this lovely piece. Yeah, it's so wonderful that people just think, well, Judy Martin, because I have this social media presence, you see, I'm on Instagram, I have a blog, and people feel that they know me enough to mail me a box of silk. It's just lovely. This one is called Dear Earth, and it's made from cotton flannel, like the kind you wear to bed. It's flannelette and dyed with natural dyes. It's quite heavy. Stitched with red thread. Underfoot, the earth divine. Okay, this is linen damask, naturally dyed, but if you look around the bottom, like close to the bottom of the quilt, you can see all these kind of holes or rivery marks that have been cut into. I cut into the pieced fabric and then filled the holes with pieced velvet. So if you run your hand across it, you'd come across this divine feeling, I think. And this is the last one I'm going to show you. I just finished it. This is the very newest one. It's never shown anywhere. I just have a good photograph of it now. It's called Sunflower Sky. And I call it Sunflower Sky because it kind of looks like the sunflower head, the head of a giant sunflower. And because Anselm Kiefer, an artist who I really love, talked about how much he loves sunflowers and he uses them in his work all the time. And he said he lay down in a sunflower field and looked up at the bending down heads of those sunflowers, and it looked like a sunflower sky. So he gave me my title. So now I'm going to go back to the beginning and I'm going to read you the poem, and we can look at them one more time while I read the poem. Okay. All right. The poem is by Jane Siberry. It's not really a poem, it's a song. And I had copied it into my January 8th journal, so I thought I could share it in this talk. Calling all angels, walk me through this one. Don't leave me alone. We're trying We're not sure. Walk me through this. Don't leave me alone. Calling all angels. We're hurting. We're loving. We're crying because we're not sure. Because we're not sure how it goes. Somewhere you can hear a mother. It's one foot and then the other. Come on. How far? How long before it's too late? Calling all angels. Walk me through this part. Don't leave me alone. So that's a song. You can look it up on Spotify. It's sung by Jane Siberry and K.D. Lang, Calling All Angels. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next part here. January 8th, diary entry. Again, I copied down two quotes, and so I thought maybe I'd like to share them with you. Just want to talk about my journals because when I come across words, when I do my reading or when I'm, on the computer, or I do a lot of reading. When I come across words that others say that hit me in the heart, I put them into my journals like I did with the Jane Siberry poem. And then later, months or years later, I reread that journal if the words still resonate with me, I put them into my current journal. So these words that I'm going to share with you now are from an older journal that I've recopied. So the first one is a statement by Max Kozloff. Now, Max Kozloff was a super important art historian and art critic who lived in New York until he died last year at the age of 93. And for a while, he was the executive editor of the very important American art magazine, Art Forum. And he talked about art that's made with cloth. And he said, soft organic material takes on an alarming correspondence to our own transient mortality. Because, cloth wears out, right? And it's soft and it's like a human body. And the other quote is a poem by Emily Dickinson. It's short, and so I'm going to read it to you. And I'm going to show you these bundles that I made. I make these bundles of velvet, and they're wrapped around leaves from my garden. My garden has this one plant called a butterbur, and I put it underneath the cedar trees, and it grows as high as my chest every year, and then it dies right back down to the ground again. But when it's large and harvested, I sometimes harvest them and dry them, and I've wrapped up, quite a few of them in fabric. You can see, like, this is why I don't tell anybody else what I do. Okay, while I was fearing it, it came, but came with less of fear because that fearing took so long, had almost made it dear. That's Emily Dickinson. So here the bundles are in a sculpture. I turned them into this sculpture on sticks. January 9th. We're getting towards the end here. Now, in January 9th, I wrote this. I have been procrastinating on preparing the talk I've contracted to do on the 20th. I am reflecting on my own career. I'm enjoying it, my career. I'm enjoying making this talk. But I have been procrastinating. So I thought for this next section, I'd show you the quilts I mended. I gave this quilt to my father when he turned 70, and he lay on top of it when he went horizontal and wore out a lot of the fabrics. So when he was in the nursing home and when he lost his ability to walk, I'd visit him and I would mend it. And I would mend it with velvet. And so it doesn't all line up here. You can see maybe it used to be all lined up, but there's some jiggy-jaggy things here because I had to patch some of the pieces that had worn out. I mended it with velvet in 2022. And this is my sis continuing with the January 9th entry. Reflecting on my career, I used to paint more. I want to paint again, but I also want to make those quilts for my twins. And I also want to mend the quilt for my sister. And this is the quilt I made my sister. This is the second ever quilt I ever made. I made it in 1976 when she went and got married when I was in Europe with Ned. And I didn't get to go to her wedding. So when we came back, I made her this quilt from new fabrics, and I gave it to her maybe a bit early because it was not all the way quilted. I didn't really think it would make that much difference. Anyway, I asked her for it back in 2024, and she gave it to me, and I want to mend it for their 50th anniversary coming up in 2026. They were married in 1976, right? And again, I will mend it with velvet. So I'm showing it to you now as it's not mended yet. It's my next project, maybe. This one and the twins quilts. This is the butterfly quilt that I made my daughter and gave it to her for university. She took it away to university. Just going to show you these butterflies here. Can you see those? I hand painted those when in the 80s and applied them to this mountain, delectable mountain quilt or whatever the pattern is called. And she took it to university and wore it out again. She wore it out. It became really, really soft. But I guess I wanted to have it back and mend it for her. Now, the reason that the butterflies are there, you can see some text. It's because of a book that had come out in the 70s and 80s called Hope for the Flowers. And it's about a bunch of caterpillars that are pushing their way around and just working and trying to find their way around. And they don't see the reason for life, and they have to eat and they have to make their little cases, and they're just so busy. And one of them saw a butterfly. So he knew that there could be more to life because he was actually going to turn out to be a butterfly, right? So anyway, I mended that one with velvet in 2022 as well. Some of the quilts that I mend, I didn't make. This one was a white quilt that was a whole cloth quilt that I came across. I was given it by my daughter who got it from her mother-in-law. It was falling apart, so I mended the back of it. There's a new back that is natural dyed fabric, and the new batting, which is part quilt batting and part felting wool that shrinks. So it took on this kind of shape. So this is the side of the quilt with the velvet mending, because there was holes through it that I covered with Easter egg kind of velvets. And then the other side is naturally dyed. And this final one is one that I mended in 2024. And it's of a Dresden plate that I made in, I don't know, 1982, of using the fabrics that I had made my clothing from when I was in high school. I sewed all my clothes in high school. I sewed my clothes when I was a newly wed woman, and they faded. But I made the Dresden plates out of them, and then the white part where I put the Dresden plates on fell apart. It was just cotton polyester sheeting. So I unpicked all those plates and put them onto um, new fabric that had been dyed with natural dyes and quilted the bejesus out of them and displayed it in England in 2024. It's called You Are a Single Star because there's only one star in it. The original quilt was 3x5, big long rectangle. It was 15 blocks, but I made a square, and so 16 blocks. I needed another block, so I made the single star. And we've been using it on our bed. It's a beautiful, heavy quilt that we really love. And now I want to show you the back of it, though. The back of it, again, the fabric for the back, I'll just get you ready for this, was mailed to me from Canada. A Canadian artist mailed me her naturally dyed linen tablecloths because she was decluttering and she thought I might use them. And this particular one was very large and very soft. And so I put it on the back of this quilt and quilted it. And I think it really looks lovely. And it's quilted with thick black thread. But if you look carefully at it, you'll see that it's starting to, it was not like this a year ago. It was soft. I mended parts of it. You can see I mended this. There's an area there where I mended. You see that? But this area here is just because we're using it. We're not stomping on it. We're just lying underneath it, right? And so, I have to say, it is actually one of the reasons that I think quilts are such an important and profound art medium. Quilts are like the human body, and they will not last forever. The fact that they carry their own death with them all the time, even while they're caring for us and being beautiful, is what makes quilts so authentic for me. They are, quilts are, to borrow novelist Ocean Vuong, V-U-O-N-G, Vuong. He wrote a novel called On Earth, We Are Briefly Gorgeous. So quilts are briefly gorgeous. By mending them, I extend them a little bit longer. I make them visible. I make them tangible. I let them live another 50 years, but they're eventually going to die. And I have to accept that, and so do we all. We are all going to do that, you know. It's a very human thing. So now, ladies, we're going to turn to January 9th. And I had a phone call on January 9th with the curator, a female curator who helped me, and Penny Barron's mount in the middle of the world. And this is what it looked like at the Muse in Kenora. So, Theresa, this is what you saw, right? Yeah, so I am very proud of it. This was a big project for me to do. This is my rock cut. And the Muse gallery has got a tall enough gallery space, 20 feet, that can allow me to hang that piece vertically. That the vertical piece is called Eternity, and the gray horizontal one is called The Forever. And all of these pieces are my pieces. They are all hanging from the ceiling in the Muse. It was a really beautiful installation. And this is the same installation again in Oakville at the Festival of the Text World of Threads Festival in Oakville. Um, same work, different installation. And then here it was in Nova Scotia, which is where Penny lives. So this time I didn't use the gray one. I put the Eternity on its horizontal and curved it to hang it from a curved uh, apparatus from the ceiling. And yeah, I really liked this exhibition. It was a lot of work, and it was nice to talk to Miranda. Here it is from the other side, Eternity. And there we put the bundles sculpture into this installation of In the Middle of the World. There's Underfoot the Earth Divine as part of this one, and those two bundles that I was holding in one of the shows, they're also part of In the Middle of the World. So now we're finishing up here. Miranda said to me at the end, she said, Judy, I want to tell you about the Instagram post you made about those bundles. I want to talk to you about it. So I'm just going to give you a brief thing about the bundles here. These are my mothering bundles. They have their wool blanket wrapped around things left over from my mothering, like the Halloween costumes I made and the leather baby shoes I saved and the knitted sweaters that I made and all that kind of thing. There's also some of my own projects in there that I might go back to and finish. So there's 42 of those mothering bundles. And for my show in Sudbury, I covered them over with different fabrics, not all of them, some of them. But I didn't really want to leave them like that. So I spent a couple weeks before Christmas, or maybe it was after Christmas, I don't know, taking those, I think both, because it took me a while to take some of those covers off, and I put them. This is what they look like when they were in the Sudbury show. We made a little tree to hang some of them on that had these new fabrics covering them. They're from projects that I'm working on or I'm not going to finish, or when I buy clothing from online that doesn't fit me, I put it in and covered it up, used it as fabrics for this. They are pretty nice. And Miranda said about them, what did she say? She said, unfinished, empty, distressed. I see them as metaphors for our time. Now, I had a feeling about them, but I don't know if I see them as metaphors for our time, but I do see something in them, but I don't know what. So I'm sharing them with you. They are not finished. This is new work, and I don't know where it's going. I'm glad that my curator thought they were nice. That excites me. My last images are going to be what's on my wall behind me right here. Uh, these are my two newest pieces. This one here on the left is called Healing Cloth. It's a small piece of silk that was dyed with avocado that I picked up to stitch into after I finished the work for in the middle of the World Show. That big show was a lot for me, and I needed to kind of recover. So I just started stitching something. And as I told you right from the beginning of this talk, stitching is what heals me. And so this really had helped me. And I didn't really have a design. But the 100% silk people would like to have it in their show. So I'm finishing it up for them. And this piece, this green piece over here, I'm getting it photographed. You can see the white photography sleeve at the top there. I take them to my photographer in Sudbury, and he can photograph both sides if I hang it from a sleeve that has an edge like that. So there it is. It's called Trembling Heart. And all those little sequins are loose and kind of fluffy. Here they are. So that's my last slide. And so thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate you asking. And now you can ask me some questions if you have any. I'd be happy to answer them. I'm done. We'll go back to something else here.
I think I think I for one am awestruck, so I'm not sure what to say. If I notice that a lot of people have muted themselves. If you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question, please, or make a comment, please
You
go
can
ahead,
put it in the chat if you like. Yeah.
or put it in the chat at that, because it's hard to moderate who might be, or just speak up. That's
I'm
okay.
I
just,
don't have my watch on, so I don't know if I've gone over
No,
time.
it's just you came in at almost exactly an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe there's no time for questions then.
Oh no,
Oh, yes, we will.
where else are we going?
I'm
That
just
was a
very,
fast
very
hour.
impressed with all that handwork.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh.
Very
Should I take it
impressive.
off screen share or should I leave it on? What do you think?
um,
You can leave it on.
Okay.
yeah,
I,
if there's a specific image that people want to see
Yeah.
again, or revisit, or see a detail of. I know that these, as lovely as these images are, they don't in any way actually show
No.
you how amazing and vibrant and how emotional you feel in their
Mhm.
presence.
We have a
Yeah.
question here.
Yes.
Okay.
We'd like to know how many hours a day you stitch.
Not nearly enough. I used to when I was working when I have an exhibition, like I had an exhibition in Toronto in 2017, and I stitched, I think, 8 hours a day. I really got worn out because it was a lot. But now I only stitch maybe 4 hours a day when I'm stitching. Uh, I stitch in the evenings. My husband and I like to have a date and we watch a movie or something or a series on TV and I'll stitch in the evening now. And I also like to stitch in the morning and look out my window. Yeah. But I think it's important to move around a lot too, and I don't stitch as much as I love stitching. I would stitch all day, but I don't let myself. But I don't know if that answered your question. probably not.
I
With this
don't.
particular one here that's on the screen, I wanted to get it done for the show, and I did stitch it all day long, a couple days, because I just had the idea to finish it, and I finished it really quickly in a week. And it was almost done, but it wasn't quite, so I really had to pour the coal to it.
I have a comment I'd like to make.
Okay.
My heart is just fluttering right now. It's beautiful. Thank you, Judy. I've been working on a presentation myself of the history of quilting and things, and it was really touching while I was working on that to listen to why we quilt as quilters.
Mm-hmm.
Your story and your journal speaks to so many women, stitchers, male, female, whatever, humans. Thank you for sharing this. I hope is my hope for you. I don't even know what my hope for you is, just to find your grounds. You've grounded me in troubled times. Thank you
Oh, thank you. When you
so
talk
much.
about my journal, are you talking about the one I read you tonight?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay. All right.
yep. The one you read me tonight. As you were preparing, I understand how difficult it is to get a presentation and the words you want to say, and
Yeah.
your words are eloquent. They're magical. They're just simply
Oh, thank you.
silk.
Mm.
Let's just say it. They're silk. The
Oh,
most
wow.
They're
beautiful.
silk. Oh, that's nice. Her
That's
words are
lovely.
silk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments? As Judy mentioned, she is on social media, and you can search out her work. And I know it's often difficult to find out where you might be exhibiting.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, coming across the exhibit at the Muse, it was like, what, how did I not know about this
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
beforehand? It's always, it is a challenge to find artists and to keep up with them and to see their work. And I remember reading about that particular exhibit was 5 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
And I did you do a textile talks
I
presentation?
did not. Well, I did as part of a SAQA conference we did once.
Yeah.
And then I had a big piece that was in a SAQA show that was three-dimensional. And that was during the pandemic. So I was part of a panel. I've never done a solo textile talk. I've been in a group.
I do have a question about the two-sidedness.
Yeah.
I mean, is that a must be a very deliberate plan when you begin, that you know how each one will work, and how do you make that work?
Yeah, 100%.
I think, well, the thing about quilts is it automatically happens because how many of I know you're textile and fiber artists. Are many of you quilters?
Oh, yes, but often I think about the back when I'm putting the backing on, and then it's like, oh, well, what's it going to look like, and how is it going to relate? But
Yeah.
I don't really think about it from the beginning.
Yeah, well, when you do the stitching, and especially if you use, like I do, embroidery threads, like I use a thick thread. For this one, for example, Lamentation that's on the screen right now, it has a white back, but those red circles are embroidered right through the quilt. Like first it was quilted, and then I embroidered these circles on top of that.
Oh,
And then the embroidery come through to the white side as red circles on the white side. So it's got it's got a white side with red circles and it has a green side with red circles. And I forget what I call the white side. I think it was something like the truth or something like that. Because I usually give them a name of their own as well. But that's the charm of textiles is that it's not like a drawing on paper. Whatever you stitch into one side comes out the other, whether you want it to be messy or not. And I thought, well, why would I waste that perfectly good art surface? I would want to have something going on that side. And some of them have really different backs and some of them not. But like far away, far away stars here. So simple on the front. This is the front. But the back of it, I could show you the back really quickly because I know where it is. Way back at the front when we were in the show. Here coming up. That's the back of
Oh,
Faraway Stars. And it's called Cloudy Day. And it doesn't even look like Faraway Stars at all. It's really different. It's a surprise. And I had this one, I was asked to have a show at the what do they call it? The big quilt show in Birmingham, England.
oh,
Anyway,
the Festival of Quilts, is that?
yeah, Festival of Quilts. So I had a show there in 2024 and I finished this piece out for it and was showing on one side Faraway Stars. And then people came into my booth and they saw the other side and they said, what? And they went around because it was such a surprise to see this drawing, I
Mhm.
guess, of a cloud and islands in the lake or whatever. Like it's quite different. Yeah, that was, I don't know, maybe a bit extreme as far as the second side.
Well, and it's lovely that you're able to exhibit them so that you can see both sides.
Yeah, it was in England when they told me, please tell us the measurements of your work and we're going to make a booth for you. So I wrote the guy and I said, well, I have a problem because some of my pieces are two-sided. In fact, they all are, but some are more two-sided than others. He said, that's okay. Just tell me which ones and I said, how are they going to do it? But what they did was make these kind of hollow walls. So they hung the quilts in, the quilt was the wall then. They made this, they made a booth because it's a great big, room, a big convention center, and they made this booth with uh, these slots and these empty walls so I could have four pieces hanging with both sides showing. And then they also made a thing in the middle so I could have both sides showing in the middle. And then the other ones were closed up walls. So it was really, they just did anything. They just were very good about showing my work really beautifully.
Judy, I invite you to look at the chat. There's 3 messages for you in there as well. So
Oh, where do I get those now?
can you see them?
Chats. Oh, I see.
At the
Four.
bottom there?
Love your
I can't
work.
read them, but I mean,
I see them, yeah.
Oh,
Barb Hunt. That's lovely. Is Barb Hunt the one who lives in, there's a Barb Hunt who lives in Nova Scotia.
oh, she lives here.
That's that Barb Hunt that lives there.
I
Okay.
live, yeah, I I used to live in Newfoundland and I came back
Oh,
home to Winnipeg.
oh, Barb, it is Barb Hunt who lives in Newfoundland. Okay.
Used to,
Hi.
used
I
to.
love your work. Yeah.
Oh, well, I love your work too. I'm so happy to see it.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for showing me those. I would have seen them maybe, but thank you. Yeah, well, I probably have talked more than I should.
yeah.
If you
No,
don't
So
get
do you
no,
ever,
no, no.
Oh,
do you ever have an opportunity to show in Western Canada?
I
I
love
mean,
opportunities to show anywhere. I don't really ever say no, except I don't teach very much anymore. And
mhm,
I don't do online teaching either, but I do speak, as you know.
mhm, mhm,
I said okay to this talk.
yeah,
And I did say okay to these young women in Toronto.
yeah.
And
You just need the invitation.
yeah, yeah, just ask me and I'll show.
Well, we've kept you for quite some time now, and I just want to say Thank you so much. I love the way in which you presented your work in the different sections and the different themes and reading from your journal. I think everyone that was here this evening has been very moved by your words and your images. And so thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being asked. And it was nice to meet some of you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Judy.
Okay.
And you're
Thank you.
welcome
Thank you.
to stay with us, but by no means are you obligated to watch the rest of our meeting. But
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Whoa. Hey, this
I know, everyone take a minute.
I
Yeah.
was going to say this requires a little bit of a shift in emotion here, but we will have to go on, otherwise it is really getting too late. I think right now, if Yvonne